Welcome to the Alchemy of Ascension Summit, where we learn to raise our frequency to connect more deeply with ourselves, our soulmates, and the divine. I'm your host, Waxela Sananda, and today we are going to have a conversation with Dr. Cynthia Clark. But first, please join me in a short alignment process so we can all get fully present and focused and ready to receive this information today. So begin by closing your eyes and deepen your breath, breathing deeply into the belly, releasing any stress. And as you're breathing, tune in to your heart center and the light within your heart. This is your heart light, and feel it growing and glowing and expanding out around your chest. And now tune your awareness into the central sun far above your head and connect with the heart of the central sun, which holds the divine masculine energy. And bring this balanced divine masculine energy down from the central sun into the top of your head and all the way to the bottom of your feet and the base of your spine. And then back up, breathing that light into your heart center and joining with the light within you. And now tune your awareness into the center of the earth. This is the heart light of the divine mother, the divine feminine energy that resides in the center of our Mother Earth. And then feel that heart light of the divine feminine moving up as if through roots, through the layers of the earth, like liquid crystal plasma, moving into the base of your spine and the bottoms of your feet, and all the way up to the top of your head, and then into your heart center, joining with the light from above and the light within you. And now feel that light creating a holy trinity of light, a portal of divine heart light, expanding out around you and expanding to connect with every person watching or listening across all time and space. And then connect in with myself and Dr. Cynthia, knowing that you are fully supported and connected, and we are all on this journey of spirituality, of expansion, and of ascension together, supporting each other. And with that, you can open your eyes. Thank you so much for doing that with me. I always feel so much more centered after that. So now it is my pleasure to introduce you to Dr. Cynthia Clark. Welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's such an honor to be here with Shayla. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, I'm so happy to have you here. Let me tell everyone a little bit about what you do. Dr. Cynthia Clark is an acupuncturist. She is an applied clinical nutritionist, an herbalist. She created energy evolution. She's a medical intuitive, and she's the owner of Longevity Wellness Center and so much more, and just a lovely person with a great sense of humor too. So I'm so happy to have you here, and you are just always such a wealth of information. I feel like I could just stop talking now and you could take over, but I will ask you some questions. For starters, can you share a little bit about, those were a lot of words like medical intuitive, and I think most people know what an acupuncturist does, but can you explain in your words what it is that you do, because you are so unique in your practice.
Thank you, Shayla. I'm enjoying this play date with you, so this is fabulous. Yes, one of the other things that I do that kind of ties all of this together is applied kinesiology, and there's a book by Dr. David Hawkins called Power versus Force that you may be familiar with. And in this book, he talks about the vast amount of information that is available to each one of us through our energy systems. And it's beyond the mind, it's beyond just the mental component of all. Of course, I spend a lot of time putting great things into my mind because I love learning. It has to do with our connectivity to one another, to the planet, to the cosmos, and to ourselves. So essentially, the point of all that is that we have the ability to innately understand with just an instantaneous response that which gives us life force and that which takes it away. So when we're talking about muscle testing, you've probably seen this where somebody sticks their arm out and the practitioner will push down on it. And basically, if it's something that gives them life force, then their arm will stay strong. And if it's something that diminishes their life force, then that arm will go weak. That's a way for the the client, and I use this word client in my clinic rather than patient because patient is derivative of the Latin word sufferer, and we don't want long-term sufferers. We want happy, healthy people. So it's a way for the client to experience that energy field for themselves when they're just learning the subtle nuances of this. Over time, so I learned that technique first, and over time, the more I looked into things and the more intricately I looked by utilizing the Chinese medicine techniques of pulse diagnosis and tongue diagnosis, where we're examining each one of the organs of the system and listening to the rate, rhythm, and tone of the movement through those, which Western medicine also acknowledges, but just kind of the most superficial, right? It's just in Western medicine, you listen to the pulse with two fingers, and you're primarily listening for just one of a couple of different characteristics. And in Chinese medicine, the beginning pulse study is with 26 different kinds of pulses. So it's very in depth and it's very specific. And through the process of tuning into the body, um, just like a good friend, when you ask them a question, then they'll want to answer you and they'll want to tell you maybe things that, can you still hear me okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, great. Maybe they'll want to tell you things that they might otherwise have not been willing to be forthcoming about. So as I went through that process and as I enhanced my skills of being a medical qigong practitioner and working with energy fields inside the body, which was so cool. As an engineer turned acupuncturist, I just think that's the coolest thing on the planet. Like, oh, we can just like step right in and tune things up, and to see an immediate difference in a person, to see the immediate changes in going from being in pain to not being in pain, going from sobbing their eyes out to being fine emotionally, like dramatic changes in just a very short period of time, definitely within less than an hour, sometimes within less than 5 minutes. Um, all of those changes took place because of interaction with the energy frequencies. And over time, as I would stay very attuned to and I would look more deeply into their energy frequencies, this is where the medical intuition came about. So at this point, whenever I put my hands on an area of stagnation on a person, then my body will have an energetic response because it will immediately start clearing that. And it also happens in greater energy fields. Maybe we'll wander into that conversation a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Um, I want to share a little story about an experience I had with you, and I had already seen you like a few times previously, but one day I was having such a strange symptom. My eye was twitching. I don't know if you even remember this, it's been a little while, but my eye was twitching for days. And I'm like, wow, I can't deal with this. This is too much. And I spoke with an optometrist because, you think eyes, optometry. So I just spoke with an optometrist who said, well, usually it'll go away, but if it doesn't, we can inject Botox into your eye muscle and that might stop it from twitching. I guess that's what they do. And I'm like, no, thank you. I don't want that. And so I
Oh my
called
God.
you and I came to you and you did some testing and things. And I also had a feeling that I described as dread that went along with it. So I had a feeling of dread, which was very uncomfortable and uncommon for me. And then my eye twitching, and you tuned right in and you're like, oh, it's, I think you said a spleen issue. You sat me with a acupuncture needle in my little finger. I believe that's where it was, for, I don't know, maybe half an hour. And I walked out with no eye twitch and never came back again, ever. So
Yay!
it worked.
Well, that's great. I've never heard that story.
Much
That's
better than Botox.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And
So
not
yeah,
having to get poison bacteria injected into your eyes. That's fantastic.
paralyze
Congratulations.
paralyze the muscle or fix the problem. And that's what I love about, natural medicine. You're not like, oh, your muscle's twitching, let's paralyze it. You're like, let's find out why and fix that.
There's really interesting studies that have taken place with Botox. Fascinating. I'll just mention really quickly because it is, look, you happen to have hit on such, I'm going to call it a decision point, right? Like we all have, okay, like I'm feeling lousy. I've got this thing wrong. What do I do about it? How do I treat it? Do I use a modality that cuts off a process in my body, or do I use a modality that allows my body to restore itself? So with Botox, some really fascinating things happen. One is that with the person that has Botox injected, their empathy levels significantly decrease because they cannot emulate the facial expressions of the person that's in front of them.
Wow.
So, I mean, in empathy, we could actually consider part of our humanity, right?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't think about that when you're like, oh, I've got a class reunion coming up and I just want to,
Right.
I just want to look my best. We don't think
Oh.
about it from that perspective. The other thing about Botox is that it's actually been used as a treatment for depression.
Mm.
Now, thinking back to what I just said about it decreases your ability to experience the emotion. Like, let's say you inject it into your frown lines, right? So it's going to decrease your ability to experience those frowny emotions. But what's going to happen is that you're not going to be able to experience those emotions at all. And it's going to last until the Botox dies off. And then you're going to still be in the same boat. And if all of the other
Mm.
factors are the same, then you're basically going to be right back where you started from. Nicole Kidman famously had Botox injection, and um, her story of this is that she was not able to act for some time because she couldn't emulate the emotions that were the basis, the foundation of her work as an actress.
Wow. That's so
Right. And so
interesting, but
what you got
what's so
instead is you got to have your digestive system also improved.
yeah, that's powerful. And I know, we have so many muscles in our face, and I get wanting to look good, and I'm not judging anyone who's had Botox, but
Well,
like there's
people
nothing
don't know
wrong
this.
with lines. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with lines. The cool thing though is that, like, for example, in this case where we take the twitch in the eye, which is annoying, and we might think like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, but actually it's an indication that there's a problem with an organ system. And so by seeking a treatment that the word holistic means whole or integrous. So that means seeing the whole body as one. So we see the problem with the eye, the twitching in the eye, as an example of, uh, as a presentation of a disorder in the spleen's ability to hold. This is a function of the spleen in Chinese medicine definition. And so that twitchy eye actually told us that there was a problem with your spleen, and you very likely prevented other blood sugar regulation problems because of the way that we treated your twitchy eye.
Hmm. Isn't that interesting? And the body always has, like, every symptom or everything that presents itself, like an eye twitch, is telling us something. And then what that thing is, which is so cool.
It is very cool. And I love the stories like yours where people come in and they have no idea that, for example, that their left knee might be related to their digestive system. The pain that they're having in their left knee might be related to their digestive system. And so, we might, if I treat the digestive system, then the knee pain often very, very likely goes away in and of itself. And actually, these are holographic representations of each other. So, the drop of the ocean that contains the entirety of the ocean, these molecules, these cells that are their holographic representation of the whole, the body works the same way. So when we take a holographic representation of the entire body, this is why there are so many different systems of acupuncture. If you've ever wondered why there's ear acupuncture and foot acupuncture and hand acupuncture, it's Korean hand acupuncture, and there's all these different systems, and it's because you can holographically represent the entire body on the ear or on the hand, and so people get expert at those specific things. Wildly cool, isn't it? And a lot of fun.
Yeah, it really is. So interesting. So interesting. And that's what I love. Like you're making me think of, I know people that have knee pain and they get knee surgery or even a replacement. And maybe some sessions with a doctor like yourself could prevent having to get surgeries.
Absolutely. And the cool thing is that it might well correct their digestive problems in the process because they're both connected. And in the holistic world, then and from a Chinese medicine pattern perspective, then that is one very, very clear representation. The knees are also connected to our kidneys and our adrenal glands. So when we get tuckered, maybe from organizing a fantastic teleconference, a telesummit with all these different things going on, when the adrenals get tuckered, then sometimes it will show up in the knees, like some difficulty. And of course, in Louise Hay's work, she talks
Mhm.
about um, problems in the knee being difficulty moving forward. Well, a Chinese medicine um, explanation of why that would happen is because as the kidneys and as the adrenals are depleted, you just don't have enough oomph to move forward. You just don't feel like it because you're kind of tuckered. And so the problems in the knees actually stem from the kidneys and proper, it's another one of my favorite things to treat. So proper treatment of the kidneys and the adrenal glands. And often there's some special techniques that we use on the knee restore those processes and are much, much easier on the body and much kinder than for surgery.
Right. And then the
And
surgery is not going to fix the original problem if it's digestion or.
right. Well, and it's different things like, and I'd also like to just give a shout out to, there are some really fantastic surgeries these
Oh, yeah.
days. I'm a triathlete and I've got a bunch of athlete friends and, these robotic surgeries, my mom had to have a hip surgery last year. Oh, give mom's story away a little bit, but, man, it was amazing. She had this robotic surgery. It was outpatient. She was in and out one day. She was walking around. It's like it wasn't like it used to be. So there's good medicine out there. Let me not sell anything short because again, engineer turned acupuncturist. I like to look at all of the options that are available, and I like to look at it from the basis of science because there is a great deal of benefit that can be gained from looking to see what other people have done and how they've thought about the problems and what kind of research they've done. And there's also some challenges in our studies today, which we were talking about a little bit earlier, and we can go into a little bit. But yeah, it's wildly cool medicine if you can fix your digestive system. I actually had a lady come in the other day. She didn't have knee problems, but she had some foot problems and she had some digestive problems and got her on the table. And I treated her digestive problems through her knee while she's on the table. Her tummy's making all sorts of great noises that she hasn't heard for a while. And there's great movement happening. And so she's getting this holistic treatment.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, and it's really it's about energy getting stuck or not flowing properly, right? Through our systems. And why does that happen? Why do things get stuck like that?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. and probably it's a 20-minute answer, but let me make it succinct. Um, One reason it can happen is that, uh, for example, perhaps our mothers were in a deficient state at the time our little embryos were being cooked. And so maybe we didn't have access to the quality of nutrients. In the past several generations, our food supply, it's a different gig than it was in our 100 years ago in our great grandparents generation, and that's because our topsoil no longer has the mineral content that once it did. You have to eat 60 cups of spinach today in order to get the same nutrient level of a cup of spinach that you would have eaten 100 years ago. It's a rigged game. It's a little bit different game. And so in this day and age, in the information era, I mean, we're all Dr. Googles, right? We can all like look up this great information if we have the time and energy to do so, and we can do our best to put together the nutrient programs. And of course, living in America, we have access to this really, really great food that many countries are not privileged to. However, we also live in a time in a society of the fast, the fast and the rich. And from this, then we can very, very easily get ourselves into trouble. Not only with, it's easy to vilify junk food, right? It's easy to say that's the terrible food. And obviously, we know none of us should eat it, and like this. But also the foods that are simply very, very condensed. So, for example, orange juice, which is readily available at any supermarket, is loaded with so much sugar that our bodies just were never designed to consume in that way. And orange juice is one of the leading causes of um, fatty liver disease. So there's alcoholic fatty liver disease, and then there's basically like orange juice fatty liver
Wow.
disease. There's non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. The disease is the same. It's just whether or not you got there by alcohol or,
Mm.
or orange juice. I mean, I know it seems so benign, but our bodies just weren't designed to absorb that way. I'm sitting out here in my backyard. I'm looking around at all of these lovely trees around me, and I'm thinking about how earlier this year I got a bit of poison ivy, and I got it at a time that my body was a bit imbalanced. And so while I have a known reaction to poison ivy, this past year I had a really significant reaction to poison ivy. I didn't know my body was so imbalanced until that happened. And the last time that I had poison ivy, are you allergic to poison ivy, Waxela? Okay.
Yeah.
So the last time I had poison ivy was 20 years ago, right? Because I don't have anything to do with poison ivy. I don't want to expose myself. This is so terrible. I lived in Dallas, Texas at the time. It was so hot. It was like, you
Mm.
walk from your car into your office building. By the time you get there, just like every single square inch of you is dripping with sweat. It's just that kind of climate. And so you can imagine that when I got this like really itchy, pussy skin thing, it was just like, oh God, it was excruciating. And so I went to the doctor and they gave me my pack of steroids. I started taking it, and it's like, I don't know if this is doing anything or not, but dear God, I need all the placebos on the planet. And so I did another round of those. Well, anyway, I had that poison ivy for 3 months, possibly a little bit longer. And it was debilitating. It was excruciating. And of course, steroids, suppressing the immune system, increasing appetite. Like, this is not a good game. I'm thinning the skin that I'm like trying to heal, but I didn't really, whatever. I was young and I didn't really think about all that. I just wanted the itching to stop. This year, I was very, 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 very determined, because in 10 days I was hopping on a plane to Japan, and I was going to be walking around Japan in a warm climate. And I didn't want the people around me to be like grossed out by this weird skin disease that they didn't, it's like. So I was completely clear of it. I was
Wow.
totally 100% completely clear of it, and that was using the natural plant medicine. And the reason that I'm mentioning this is because as I'm looking around, I'm looking at different, plants are our friends, but like any of our friends, we have to know how to play well with them. And so, well, okay, so that comes to the heal yourself and heal the planet. Tell us something. I'll talk about that later.
Oh yeah, I want to hear about Heal Yourself, Heal the Planet. Tell me all about that. And you have a summit coming up, which begins February 11th.
I
So
do.
Heal Yourself, Heal the Planet sounds amazing. Tell us what that's about.
Yeah. Okay. So, if you've ever had a day when you had not slept, and you hadn't gotten enough food, and maybe you were also sick and feeling very cruddy, then you know what you not feeling good feels like. And if you've ever had to talk to a loved one in that condition, and maybe had to have a really important conversation, or really serious conversation, then like you weren't your strongest self to be part of that. And so, um, so the awareness is that our health affects the health of the people around us
Mm.
at a very basic level. And then, of course, if we are feeling strong and if we have slept well and we've exercised, we've gotten great food, we're in a great mood, and somebody comes and gives us some like really bad news, we have a lot more capacity to deal with that and to think of the loving and compassionate and smart things to do and to do them right away than we do if we're in a really depleted state. So healing ourselves automatically allows for healing just without having to really do anything else, allows us to heal our loved ones. There's more to it though. There's a resonant frequency communication that happens. In 1986, there was a study published in the journal Science that had two people in two different rooms. Do you know this story? Do you know this study?
I might. I'm not sure. Tell me more.
Probably. It's one of my favorites. In
Okay.
one room, so these two people, the rooms were totally soundproof, there were no windows, and they didn't know that the other person was in another room. So they can't there's not only not any verbal communication, but there's no nonverbal communication either. There's not even knowledge of the other person. In the first room, they hook the person up to some electrodes so that they can measure their brain waves, and they have them start watching a movie. In the second room, they hook the person up to the electrodes and they just wait to see what happens. And what happens is the person in the second room, his brain waves started to match the brain waves of the person in the first room.
Hmm.
No conversations, no education, no way he could have intellectually known that there was something else going on. Instead, it was simply an energetic communication. And that is one of the studies that demonstrate to us that our energy affects the energy of the people around us. So it really matters that, and that's the name of my book, Your Chi Matters, which is a book on, I'm sorry, there's a couple of mosquitoes out here and I haven't learned mosquito language to tell them to not eat my head while I'm talking. So please forgive me if I scratch my head a little bit. Um, your own energy affects the energy of the people around you, even if you're not speaking. So our energy affects the energy of the people around us. And that energy affects our community, because if we have a group of people that are in loving conscious connection with each other, then they're going to want to do really cool things. Um, on January 23rd, there is an Amazon series coming out that I have been long awaiting for, and it's the Picard, which is the captain from Star Trek: The Next Generation, and that was an excellent example of an idyllic community where people were very forward thinking. They had solved many of the physical difficulties, and they had the luxury of, well, being the kind of leadership and government that we really want to see in our worlds, right? It's like we were yes, and so an idyllic representation there from that living community. If we have the time, if we have the energy, if we have the resources, then we are able to do the things that help to hold our planet in conscious loving harmony. There's more to it though. Actually, this has now become a cycle, and the reason for that is because the okay, so we're gonna put on our little Chinese medicine detective hats for a moment. And in the same way that when somebody comes into me with an eye twitch, I look to diagnose them and I look to see what's the root cause of this eye twitch. Okay, we have some spleen qi deficiency. All right, that's the disharmony. So in order to balance that, then we're gonna put a pin in this little spot. Well, we'll use a few, and then this person's energy should be properly aligned, and then your body can go back to being the amazing, wonderful design that it was created to be. We can put on those same hats and we can look at our planet, and we can look at what it is that we're seeing with the planet. And we'll be talking more about that in the telesummit, how we diagnose the planet, and how the planet's health is affecting ours. A very, very easy to see example of that is that we can see that the earth has been heating up. Right now, the oceans are heating up at the rate of 5 atomic bombs per second,
Hmm.
is the latest research, and that is not a level number. That's actually an increasing number. So um, earlier, so 5 atomic bombs per second, and that seems inconceivable.
Hmm.
But before there was an atomic bomb, before there was a bombing of Hiroshima, then it was inconceivable. So in order to be able to conceive and to do something about this in a healthy way, then we have to be able to look facts in the face. Earlier, just a few months ago, I was in Hiroshima for my first time, and it was an amazing transformative experience. It was such a well documented journey of the experiences that these people had. And I'll be honest, they didn't pull any punches. There was no trying to soften the event. In fact, they did the opposite. They documented letters to loved ones. They had pictures of the deformities that took place for not just months and not just years, but for decades afterwards. They were very clear on how this affected these people's lives for generations. Children that were born with birth deformities that were conceived decades after the bombing had taken place, because this radiation stayed in. And what the people of Hiroshima did, what the nation of Japan did, is they chose to transmute this into one of the greatest and most loving lessons that I've ever witnessed. And I knew when I was there that this was changing me, that I would forever be changed by this. And their message was simple. It was, never again, never let there be nuclear weapons again, because this is inhuman. This robs us of our humanity. And so as a result, uh, my personal experience was to really deeply look at violence, and including internally, including words that I used. And I consider myself a something of a master in using kind words, but I didn't realize how deeply those resonance levels were happening even in my own body until I really listened. I had a lady in clinic just the other day who was really struggling. She wasn't sleeping, she was constipated, and she was just, off the planet. Like, she's just really having a difficult day. And so with the energy techniques that I taught her there was one technique that has the greatest difference in prognosis, no matter what type of medicine the person pursues, whether it's allopathic, naturopathic, Chinese medicine, no medicine, whatever it is, whatever they pursue, there is one thing that has the greatest effect upon that. And I taught her that, and I taught her how to do it every single day. And I've witnessed the transformation, even getting off the table. She was much more calm. She was much more centered. She was much more able to make good decisions for herself. And over the next few days, a couple days later, my front desk said, wow, she's really different. She's much more grounded. She's much more centered. And even if she gets a little off, then it comes right back. So it was, it's such an honor to walk with people when they're in that kind of journey.
Mm.
And it was both an honor, and it was both humbling and very much an honor to walk through Hiroshima. At the end of it, I walked into Hiroshima as an American, really kind of dreading it a bit, because, I felt this kind of like social responsibility, even though it happened before I was born.
The guilt. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like a download of guilt. And I walked out of it understanding that a great deal more was possible in this realm of transforming into peace. And I was I was honestly so grateful to be a human. I was so grateful to be part of the species that had done this amazing, magnificent thing, that I was like, wow, that's fantastic. And that's the same energy that we bring to healing ourselves, and it's the same energy that we bring to healing our loved ones, and it's the same energy that we are capable of bringing to healing our planet. I've got a little bit more I want to talk about on that, but I don't know if now's the right time.
Yeah, well, I mean, it sounds like we're kind of leading into will to live.
Yes,
And, we we talked
it's
a
like
little
you're reading
while
my
ago.
mind.
Well, it's going that direction. Yeah, and when you said will to live and how, that's like the essence of everything in the human, it just, my whole body felt that, you know, because even with babies, failure to thrive, that's, you know, that's a thing
It
when they're,
needs no explanation.
yeah, when they're strong-willed, you know, they can power through some horrendous stuff. But if there's no will to live, or if it's not strong enough, you know, it's got to be there. And I think now in this day and age, there's so much negativity, and that's when I hear it and people talking about all the horrible things going on in the world, or that the the earth is falling apart and she doesn't want us here. I always jump in and say, she wants us here. We wouldn't be here if the Mother Earth didn't, because she could wipe us out in a moment. And it's a privilege to be a human in these times. Nobody said it's easy, but it's such a privilege. And I really want to share that in this summit. Like, let this summit be an opportunity to bring up the will to live, which is part of raising your frequency for sure. So take it away. Tell us about will
Awesome.
to live.
Awesome. So will to live, while it requires no explanation, we can say this to anybody and we all get it. We all understand, oh yeah, will to live, I have seen clinically has the greatest effect upon a person's ability to heal more than anything else. More than you know, how many supplements they can afford or how much acupuncture they can afford. This has to do with their determination to succeed and their determination to live. And I just want to talk about one quick thing before that, um, because I live in Sarasota, Florida, and it's a mature community here, and there's a whole conversation about. I mean, we're used to people transitioning here. We're used to very, very healthy aging people, but we're also used to people. You know, like we get to witness that phase of life here. Will to live does not take away anybody's right to exit the planet. And it here is how it does affect things. It affects quality of life and it affects vitality. So it affects how one goes through the day and what kind of experience they have. And it can affect things like how they might choose to live, how they might choose to experience their day. It can also affect when they might choose to exit. So, but it will be only in a healthy way. It will be only ever to their benefit. Okay, so let's do a visualization technique. I think that this crew will be as well primed for this. I'm just gonna clear the little buggy friends. Let's do a visualization technique, and I want you to take your two hands. I want you to hold them just like this. And I'm going to put my hands down because you don't need to stare at my hands, but know that your hands are right there. And so what we're doing is we're visualizing what's taking place inside that. So with your two hands, your hands are containing this sphere of your will to live. Now, inside this container, I want you to see your flame spirit, your divine spark. This is the bit of the universe that's implanted in you. And I want you to see that glowing. And it's a flame. So I want you to see it with that beautiful bright blue and yellow flames coming up. And know that in your hands you are holding your will to live. And look at it and notice whether or not there's any cobwebs around it. Notice whether or not it's a little low, it's gotten a little dampened. And I want you to just reach in and I want you to turn the flame up so that it's burning off any of this cobwebs, so that you're getting rid of all of this junk and debris and you're leaving this huge, bright, glowing bonfire of will to live, burning, 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 burning brightly inside your hands. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night. All of the beautiful fire energy right there in your hands. And feel the support underneath. Feel that this will to live has exactly the support that it needs to sustain its strength. And feel that lovely, lovely, lovely fire burning off everything that simply doesn't belong there. And inside the fire, see your flame spirit brighter and stronger, brighter and stronger. And now I want you to make an energy decision. Looking at this fire, I want you to choose for your will to live to be 100%. There is nothing, there's no reason on the planet that yours should not be. You will only ever make healthier decisions for yourself, your loved ones, others. Nobody else has any right to your will to live, and they are not served by it. Your will to live is totally and completely yours and belongs to you. So I want you to choose to rub off any smudge marks and choose right now for it to be 100%. Good. Excellent. 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 And then just see it right there. You can put it inside your body. You can put it inside right by your kidneys. So this is in your Ming Men. And when you do this, you're going to take the center of your right hand as your finger comes down. It's going to be the center of your palm, and you're going to place that just below your belly button. It's about 3 finger widths below your belly button. And you're going to put the center of your other palm right on top of it. And so you're going to have a lovely, 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 lovely little home for your strong, whole will to live. And know that you can do this technique at any time. You're completely and totally in control of this. And you have the ability to do this on your own at any time to strengthen your will to live.
Beautiful. I love that. Oh my gosh. Did you know on the banner and the marketing for this summit, I have a flame that I'm holding in my
Oh, I
hand.
do. It's so beautiful.
That's so perfect.
Fantastic.
I was just working with that image right before this call too.
Well,
I
can I
wanted,
tell you just one thing?
yeah, please.
Actually, that's the first time I've taught it that way. There's another way that I almost always teach it, but I got that I needed to do it that way for this. So that's the first time we've done it that way.
Beautiful. Oh, I love
Yeah.
it.
Cool.
That was really nice. And I felt it too. And I felt like at first I felt like my face and my third eye center buzzing when I was holding it. And then I felt the top of my head start to buzz. So like, like the little tingly spiders crawling on your head feeling. I just want to like brush them off.
It is a very warming technique. So it's a lovely one to do, especially if you've been running a bit cold. Then it's a
Mm.
great technique to do to warm yourself up.
Yeah, that's good. A lot of people, this is, February, a lot of people are cold in a lot of the world.
Yes,
So
yes, yes, yes.
fortunately, here in Florida, we're still pretty warm. But yeah.
So I was thinking,
Yes.
I was having a conversation today that I wanted to tell you about. I think it'd be a very good way to see this. Um, is it okay?
Yeah, please go for it.
Okay. Uh, so 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 it's about will to live, and it's about being able to take right action and being healthy enough to take right action. So if we're just going to say if we're healthy, if we're completely healthy, not only physically but emotionally and spiritually, then we are able to see right action at the right time, and we are able to act upon it. So I
Mm.
have an example. It's a little bit heavy, but it's an example that I feel is very relevant, and it has to do with 9/11. It has to do with the 4 men that were on Flight 93 that were aiming for the White House, and there were 4 men that were on this flight that were able to see the situation for what it was, and they were of strong enough physical body, they were of strong enough mind, courage, and spirit that while they were not able to save their own lives, and they attempted, they weren't just trying, they were trying to save their own lives, but while they weren't able to do that, they were able to avoid catastrophe. And the reason that would have been symbolic and devastating to us, and the reason for that is because of the health that was flowing through their system. So when we talk about meridians being balanced, we are not just talking about some wishy-washy, esoteric, airy-fairy, oh, I want to feel better when I get off the acupuncture table, all of which totally happens and it feels fantastic.
Mhm.
But we're talking about getting your physical and spiritual centers right. And when those things are right, then the right things happen. They happen because we choose the right things for us. We choose the healthy things. We choose the right things for our community. Uh, Maybe we participate in community cleanup days, and we choose the right things for our environment and our planet. And through that process, our own health affects the health of the people around us, just like with those four heroes on the plane that day.
Mm. Wow, yeah, that's so true. And there it's like melancholy and depression are so common, for so many people now. And just I think even just doing a meditation like that where you're visualizing your will to live getting stronger. And I think a daily practice like that can really help the alignment. But and just to think about, there's so much to live for beyond yourself. And when we make it, like, life can be painful, and horrible and terrible, but when we, I think one of the best ways to come out of that is to make it about other people. How can I serve? Like you just said, where can I donate my time or my efforts? How can I give back to someone? And doesn't that strengthen the will to live and just the joy of being here when we share ourselves, even in a small way, with someone else or animals or anything?
I, I'm a little divided in my response here because
Okay.
I absolutely agree with you. And I love those things and being out in nature. I mean, that's part of why I'm here, is because I wanted to really bring my best energy to our audience today. And I knew that that would be my best energy. But I also know that when certain afflictions set in, that the normal things might not help. And if and that's actually a really wonderful test, because if doing the things like connecting with nature or other people or serving or like, I'm also a pet person, so like connecting with your pets, if it's not doing the job, then that's an excellent indication that there is a spiritual affliction, and that is an excellent time to do the will to live. What I mean to say is that if it's not working the way it should, do that technique. It's incredibly powerful in helping to. It's like a reboot for your energetic system, um, and if the things that are supposed to be working aren't working, then do that first.
Yeah, and get help if you need it. Um, I had I had a time in my life. I had postpartum depression after I had my
Mhm.
daughter. It was before that was well known, it was before it was a commonly known thing, and I didn't have help, and I was so not myself and depressed. And someone told me, make a list of 10 things, because I wanted to help myself and I wanted to be present for my daughter. Make a list of 10 things that bring you joy. And I had a hard time writing that list from that state. But one of the things was, we lived in a place, and there was this really nice duck pond. And there was a little bakery nearby. And if you stopped in the bakery before you went to the duck pond, they would give you day old bread that you could go feed the ducks. And my daughter and I both loved that experience. So I'm like, well, something I could do every day is go feed the ducks. Wasn't far from my house. I could do that every day. And you know what? Even just taking that one action, and I felt like, okay, it's an action that I'm getting out of the house. I'm getting outside. I'm doing something for my daughter, and I'm bringing an animal some joy as well. And it really would lift me for that time. And I feel like, in a way, that was a stepping stone to my recovery out of that. So I wasn't so deep that that didn't work, and I get, like, some people that might not work for, but it did for me. So it's worth a shot. And for me, I learned from that, like, sometimes service to others, like looking beyond myself. All right, I don't feel good. I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to walk or go get out of the house, but yet when you do, it can really make a difference.
Absolutely, absolutely. By the way, you've probably heard of this practice about the Chinese eat the placenta after
Yeah.
childbirth.
Yep.
The reason for that is because of the essence deficiency that comes from carrying a child. And they actually will do this for several weeks, that eating the placenta, and then also a lot of eggs. There's a whole lot of eggs that you have to eat um, because Chinese medicine acknowledges that the body is in a very depleted state, and so postpartum depression would come under the diagnosis of an essence deficiency, essence depletion.
Wow. Yeah. I wish I knew then what I know.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
mentioning this for
Right.
the viewers now, and
Yes. Yes.
thank
There's
you
help.
for
Yeah.
sharing your journey. When we were talking the other day, I shared some of my health issues with you, and I think our own personal, like, I can tell you stories from clinic, but I know the ones that will often resonate with people is like, what did you go through? Oh my God, that's
Yeah.
wow, you
Yes.
survived that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And to know we're all human, like
Right.
we all have those experiences in these bodies, and it's just so great that there are so many ways to get help, and there really are so many ways to get
Yeah,
help. um I
absolutely.
I want to share with our with everybody that you are giving away that meditation, the Will to Live meditation that we did is actually a recorded meditation that Dr. Cynthia has done, and she's giving that to everyone as a free download. So be sure and grab that, and you can do it as often as you want. Maybe you want to share it with people or family members. So be sure to get that free download. That's a beautiful free gift for everybody. Thank you for that.
My pleasure.
And then additionally, I want to mention that you have an offer. It's an in-depth course to relieve insomnia. It's you're offering it for $97, which is a huge reduction. It's normally $300, and a very comprehensive course. Can you talk about that?
Yes. Okay. So one of the things, so Chinese medicine is very comprehensive in its treatment of insomnia. Western medicine, it's like, well, here, try some Ambien. By the way, oh my God, have you ever looked up the side effects of Ambien? It's crazy. Like, people driving into uh, buildings, people like getting up and driving in the middle of the night. Like, there are, oh my gosh, it is not the thing that you want to go on. I even have a client right now that Ambien is contributing to her sleeplessness. So, in addition to the really unwanted immediate effects, there's also the it might not work. It does cause constipation, which is often a contributing factor in not being able to sleep well. And then, of course, it's metabolized through the kidneys, and it's hard on the kidneys over time. So, there's a reason that it's important to explore, and more importantly, like, what's wrong with the body, why is it, what's out of balance. There's several different ways to look at this, and this course goes through all of them. It goes through all of the Chinese medicine, goes through all of the functional medicine differentiations for it. But there's one thing that most people don't know about, and that is, according to, so the Chinese medicine's been around for almost 4,500 years. They've had a lot of time to figure some things out. One of the things that they figured out is that each organ gets a little bit more blood flow every 2 hours. That comes in every 2 hour cycle. So it's kind of like picturing a stage with all of these different actors, and then each actor kind of gets its time to be front and center, and to really be center stage to get all of the audience's accolades. Well, when we're sleep deprived, then a really weird thing happens. It's like now we're having two or three actors on the stage at the time, all kind of quarreling and talking over one another, or maybe some actors don't show up at all. Or sometimes it's so out of balance that it's like the audience rushes the stage and they're like trying to attack the organs. So, for example, between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m., this is the time that our pericardium, which is the heart protector, the lining that goes around the heart, this is the time that the heart protector is most active and gets the most blood flow, it gets the most energy. If we are running around crazy at that time, or if we're working, and we don't take the time, I'm just going to talk about this one organ. If we don't take the time to relax and to allow the heart protector time to be center stage, then it's going to constantly be neglected. And over time, this can be a setup for heart attack, stroke. In the physical realm, there's also a metaphysical realm. The heart protector not only has a physical function of protecting the heart, but it also has a metaphysical function. So the heart protector is responsible for our ability to trust and to discern well who to trust. So if the heart protector is depleted, then our gut instinct might be off, and we might have more heartache
Mhm.
because of the heart protector being depleted. And that's just one of the organs. So the Chinese medicine meridian clock is a very, very valuable and powerful way to look at how to resolve sleep disorders. This class goes through all of it. It starts with a introduction to quantum physics so that there's understanding of how these fields work and what you can do about it and how you can become your own healing hero. And then it goes into the science of these different pathways from a Western medicine, functional medicine perspective, and then it goes into the Chinese medicine pattern differentiations, and it teaches you exactly what to do, not both in diet, lifestyle, but also in the energy work in order to correct that right away.
Wow, that's powerful. Thank you for sharing that. And, as you were speaking about that 7 to 9 p.m. period, as you know, it's a lot of work to put together a summit. And I have been
Thank you,
working
thank you, thank you for doing that. Thank you.
been working really long hours lately. It's not my norm to work that long, but there is, when you said 7 to 9, I was like, ding, I'm like, I literally cannot work from 7 to 9. I just can't. My body shuts down. It's like no computer. I can't do it.
Good, good.
And so that makes me think it's something to do, with that Chinese medicine clock, or is that what you
Yes,
called it? Yeah,
Chinese meridian clock. Yeah.
meridian clock. And yeah, so that makes me really curious, like, oh, what's happening with my body the rest of the time too, but that particular time I shut down and I just can't work. I've just come to live with that.
Well, I think that your body has excellent wisdom, and good for you for listening to it.
Yeah, well, I tried. I tried to power through and work
Yeah.
anyway. Never works out. So no, I don't even try. Wow, that's so interesting. It makes me want to learn about all of them, and the the different organs and the what, like, should we be taking um should we be doing certain things each day for the organs, or like at certain times? And is that all part of the course?
That's part of the course. There are other courses too. The $97 one is this is my gift for the program. So that's the insomnia focus. But the energy evolution courses, there's a whole host of them. They're on different topics, so you can go and you can check those out.
Great.
They're on digestion and on keeping your energy clean. They're focused into 3 different groups. But I mean, like, what's more important than sleep? If you're not sleeping, then
Yeah.
then you're not, nothing else is going to work properly, or you're not going to care if anything else is working properly because you just can't function.
Right. Sleep is so important. We got to have it.
We gotta have it.
So, yes, thank you. Is there anything, we're getting toward the end now. So, is there any last thought that you want to leave everyone with?
You know, well, Shayla, one of the things that I really think is the coolest about this, um, the alchemy of ascension that you're doing, is I just really dig the exploration of it. So it brought to mind this quote by Rumi, which is, out beyond the ideas of right doing and wrong doing, there is a field. I will meet you there. And I'm we all have these times in our lives when we go beyond the pale to it's an old phrase, but it's also a phrase that's recently mentioned in the book Stealing Fire. And it's a time of exploration, and it's a time of trying on different things and figuring out what suits us or what speaks to us. And I really appreciate your creating a safe space and a really positive energy for people to go and to try things on, um, and for people to understand what resonates with them, because not everything's a fit for everybody. And having a safe space that they can go and to learn about different paradigms, different styles, different techniques is really a beautiful gift. So thank you very much for that lovely gift that you've brought.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And that is the intention, to give people exposure to so many different ways of thinking, ways of raising your frequency, and like you said, everybody's different. What works for one person might not for another. So yeah,
Right.
try them all
As an
on and play.
as an engineer turned acupuncturist, I tend to like the techniques that are really fast, really effective, and sometimes they're a little less entertaining. But that's going to be language for some people, and it's not going to be somebody else's language. And so it's just rocking that you've got such a great smorgasbord of people.
I do. I have wonderful people. I'm so happy. I'm so happy with everybody and just the way it's all coming together. So I'm happy with you. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing all of that wonderful information. And if you're in Sarasota, go visit Dr. Cynthia Clark. If not, she has a website. You can look up her. She has courses and various things for educational purposes on her website. So
And we also have telemedicine appointments for people that can't come to see us locally.
awesome. Telemedicine. I love that. Okay. Yeah, we can do everything virtually now, can't we?
Pretty much.
Yeah, yeah, it's so great. Um, okay, so if you, I know you got the email for this today because that's how you found this. So please respond to the email that you received today and let us know, what did you find really interesting, or what did you learn, or what was an aha moment for you in this conversation today? And I will be sure to share your responses with Dr. Cynthia. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you so much, Dr. Cynthia, for sharing with us and being present in your beautiful face. I just love, love, love getting to connect with you. And to everybody else, thank you for being here. I appreciate you all so much, and namaste.